Hong Kong Review 2024. Tackling Hong Kong's long-standing housing woes has remained front and center in the government's policy directions. One blockbuster move in 2024 was a new policy to regulate Hong Kong's 110,000 subdivided units.
我記得下個今年2月25、6月17同埋9月30號用木之連續3次，記得。
Having raised even more eyebrows was the government's handling of the municipal solid waste charging scheme. The waste levy was shelved indefinitely amid controversy and confusion. So, some happy news for the city in 2024. Team Hong Kong struck 2 gold medals and 2 bronzes at the Paris Olympics, marking an historic haul for Hong Kong at the Games. The municipal solid waste charging scheme was supposed to take effect in late 2023. The rollout was delayed to April 1st, 2024, only to see another postponement. Secretary for Environment and Ecology Zhe Qingwen said the new launch date would be August 1st, and as a responsible government, they would dedicate more efforts to campaigning and public education given the many concerns towards the scheme. The government launched a trial run at 14 premises over 4 months to gauge preparedness and disposal habits. They included public and private housing estates, a government office block, care homes, and eateries. Residents and workers had to use government-designated garbage bags. This resident at one of the trial locations said such rules are even more wasteful as they could not reuse other plastic bags taken from grocery shopping. The government said many trial participants noted the unnecessary trouble of the waste levy and decided to indefinitely shelve the scheme. Deputy Chief Secretary for Administration Cher Wing-hing said, "You never know how hard a task is until you have done it yourself, so the decision to exit scheme for now was a pragmatic and possibly the only choice." Another green policy, the ban on disposable plastic tableware. Unlike the ill-fated waste levy scheme, the regulation came into force in April. Under the first phase of regulations, restaurants cannot sell or provide single-use plastic cutlery or straws. Authorities invited 4 suppliers of environmentally friendly tableware to demonstrate. But the process hit some snags and some snapped. The supplier explained different utensils are designed for different dishes. He said the broken spoon was supposed to be used for ladling soup or scooping up noodles. Questioning that, the Association for Hong Kong Catering Services Management wondered if that meant eateries had to prepare 10 different utensils for 10 different dishes. Under the plastic-free policy, hotels too no longer offer items containing plastic free of charge. This tourist said he had to pay $50 to buy a razor, but questioned if that means as long as you can afford it, you can refuse to go green. Following the half-year transition period, the government said the catering sector has phased out the use of disposable plastic smoothly. Over those 6 months, the industry reduced the use of 30 million sets of single-use cutlery. Also showing progress was addressing the city's infamous covered homes. This year, the government proposed to regulate the city's 110,000 subdivided units. These units should be redesignated as basic housing units under new legislation. They should measure at least 8 square meters in floor space. They should also include windows and an individual toilet. Landlords must register their flats to be eligible for a grace period to bring the units up to standards. New subdivided units will not be entitled to the grace period and must meet the minimum requirements. Owners who still rent out substandard flats after the transition period will face criminal liability. Deputy Financial Secretary Michael Wong said the renaming of subdivided housing to basic housing units eases the negative connotations of such dwellings after the regulations are introduced. Authorities estimate that around 30% of the city's 110,000 subdivided units don't meet the requirements. This tenant at the subdivided unit is worried the regulations might lead to rent hikes. The government stressed there will be 189,000 public housing units over the coming 5 years. Alongside the supply of transitional housing, more tenants at subdivided units could relocate to government-supported accommodation. Stumbling blocks, however, on the government's plan to build public housing at a golf course in Vanling. The Hong Kong Golf Club filed a legal challenge to oppose the housing project on part of the course that could provide 12,000 public rental units. They include questions on the environmental impact assessment greenlit by environmental authorities. In the end, the High Court overturned the conditional approval of the building plan and brought the project back to the public consultation stage. The government said the court's decision won't have a major impact on the overall public housing supply target of 308,000 over the next 10 years. The government has also stepped up efforts to crack down on the abuse of public rental housing. They include rich tenants who did not disclose their ownership of properties in the mainland or overseas. As of September, about 1,400 public housing units have been recovered for abuse, lease violations, or breaches of housing policies. The government is also launching a reward scheme for tip-offs on public housing abuse cases. Informers will receive $3,000 for each case uncovered. Then Director for Housing Rosanna Law said it could cost around $1 million to build one public housing unit, so the $3,000 reward makes sense financially. In April, a number 3 alarm fire broke out at New Lucky House, a 60-story building in Jordan. This man said the corridors were engulfed in smoke and it was a narrow escape from death for him. The 60-year-old commercial and residential building housed more than 30 guest houses for tourists and over 100 subdivided flats. Doused in around 2.5 hours, the blaze claimed 5 lives and left 40 people injured. The building's owners' corporation involved in non-compliance cases dating as far back as 2008 related to the need to upgrade fire safety measures. Across the city, nearly 10,000 premises are not complying with such safety notices. In December, the Legislative Council passed a bill allowing the government to carry out relevant improvement works for owners who failed to comply with fire safety directions first. Then the government can recover the costs for these works from the landlords. Power failures at Kwangwa Hospital forcing around 25 non-urgent operations to be rescheduled. A medical blunder involving a nasogastric feeding tube misplaced in a patient's airway at Queen Elizabeth Hospital. A patient suspected to have contracted hepatitis C from a wardmate who is a Hep C carrier at Princess Margaret Hospital. The string of incidents at public hospitals led to calls for the hospital authority to establish a committee to scrutinize the hospital's management. The committee made 31 proposals, including setting up an accountability system for HA's executives. HA's chairman Henry Fan said it's unfair to stack all the onus on frontline medical staff every time an incident occurs. The committee said the bulk of the 31 proposals will be implemented in June next year. There will be comprehensive reviews of the hospital authorities' financials and salary structures as well. This year saw multiple cases of child abuse as well. In January, a 9-month-old baby girl in Tumun was found to have blood clots in her brain while in the care of a nanny. The infant is facing permanent disability. The babysitter was recruited under a government-funded neighborhood child care scheme and was arrested for child abuse. The Social Welfare Department said it will review the training guidelines for community nannies. In May, another alleged case of medical blunder involving a 4-year-old girl. Samri came to cardiac arrest after her face was allegedly pressed into a pillow for an extended period while medics from Yanchai Hospital were stitching a wound. The father of the girl said her condition deteriorated every day. After police investigations, the nurse and care assistant involved were charged with child abuse. In July, the Legislative Council passed a mandatory reporting of child abuse bill. It sets out how 25 types of professionals, including doctors, social workers, and teachers, will face criminal liability if they fail to report suspected cases of serious child abuse to authorities. In August, a suspected case of sexual assault came to light involving 2 mentally disabled victims. The case happened at a care home for the disabled run by the Hongqi Association. A 38-year-old warden has been charged with 4 counts of raping a woman and 1 count of gross indecency with a man. Following the case, the Social Welfare Department updated guidelines mandating care homes to iron out relevant mechanisms related to the use of surveillance footage. In September, a police officer fatally shot a man who allegedly assaulted his wife and mother in Northport. The man was said to have charged towards the officer with weapons, and the officer opened fire at his chest after repeated warnings. The deceased man had a history of mental illness. The man's wife said she regretted calling the police. She later filed a complaint about the case. Defending the decision to open fire, the force said the suspect was about 1.5 meters away, adding that officers were trained to shoot at the largest part of the body. 2024 in memoriam. Here's a look back at some familiar faces who passed away this year.
小明陽、劉信允兒、呂志和、李秀恒、鄭佩佩、周天瑜。
At the 2024 Paris Olympics, Hong Kong fielded a 35-strong delegation.
今晚記
Team
得
Hong
讀
Kong
讀
returned
英文
home
版。
with unprecedented success, having clinched 2 gold medals and 2 bronzes.
好想見多啲小朋友，俾多啲更多。
Gold medalist in women's individual epee Vivian Kong said she is retiring from professional fencing. Another gold medal winning fencer Chen Kai-long defended his Olympic throne in the men's foil individual event. Trade tensions and geopolitical
記得今個月25至2月9號至下個月9號1連16日休假，記得以就返工啫，唔使問係人都知。
As we hope for the best for the new year ahead, from all of us here at TVB News, we wish you continued health and happiness in this new quarter of the century. Good night.